The date is April 8th, 2022. It's opening day, and the Seattle Mariners are fresh off their most exciting season in 20 years. On paper, the 2021 team wasn't all that great. Their negative 51 run differential wasn't an impressive figure, but the team was fun and they won 90 games, nearly making the playoffs for the first time since 2001. They had the longest playoff drought in the Big Four sports leagues. But there was something missing, an X-Factor player. And on April 8th, that player would make his MLB debut. His name is Julio Rodriguez, and he's now recognized as the face of the Mariners and one of the top players in the league. MLB Network ranked him at 10, above names like Bryce Harper and Matt Olson, some of the most prolific sluggers in today's game. Julio is a 5-tool player. This means he can run, hit for average, hit for power, throw, and field, all at a high level. Players like this don't come along all that often. Mike Trout is a good example, but injuries and aging are taking him out of the spotlight. A better recent example would be Ronald Acuna Jr., who just took home National League MVP after posting a season in which he hit 41 home runs and stole 73 bases. That has never been done before in the entire history of Major League Baseball. Sure, it helped that the bases got bigger after a rule change, but he definitely would have hit the 40-40 mark anyway. Acuna put up 8.3 F4 that season, tied for second in baseball with Mookie Betts, only trailing Shohei Ohtani. That gives you some perspective on what Julio does and why it's so special. He was a top prospect coming up in the minor leagues, and now that he's here, he's showcasing his insanely high potential already. For the first month of his career, though, he wasn't exactly setting the league on fire. In 81 plate appearances, he compiled a 544 OPS and a terrible 37% K rate. Despite the slow start, fans were still excited about his potential, and when he had a great May, expectations were sky high for both Rodriguez himself and the Mariners team that year. He was hitting the ball both harder and farther than in April. He started to drum up support for being American League Rookie of the Year at this time. He hit even better in June, clubbing 7 home runs in 122 plate appearances. By far his best month was September, and coincidentally, that's when the Mariners also had their ascendance to the playoffs for the first time in 20 years. Julio hit for an insane 1.189 OPS in 68 plate appearances that month. His overall numbers were extremely impressive as well for a 21-year-old rookie, posting 5.3 F4 in just 132 games. He ultimately did go on to win that Rookie of the Year award, and one of the best rookie seasons I've ever seen in my life. Admittedly not quite MVP caliber, especially in a season where Aaron Judge hit 62 home runs and Shohei Ohtani being who he is. Even in general, a 5.3 WAR season is simply just all-star worthy, not MVP worthy. When you look at the last 10 MVPs in both leagues, the worst one, 2020 Jose Abreu, still had an excellent 165 OPS plus. Outside of a bad April and a mediocre August, Julio really could have been a candidate for MVP. He even came in 7th place in the voting, so naturally expectations were sky high for the Mariners' star player in year 2. What would he do for an encore? 2023 proved to be an unfortunate step back. In 155 games, he put up a 128 OPS plus with 32 home runs and 37 stolen bases. He had more WAR than in 2022, but it was still considered by the majority of fans as a disappointing season. Even though it's admittedly unfair, it simply is the narrative that I've been hearing about his season. The Mariners not making the playoffs must have had something to do with that, in my opinion. With Shohei out of the American League, this is what gives Julio Rodriguez a better chance to claim the MVP trophy that he got very close to in his first 2 seasons. A couple other candidates include Juan Soto, a newly acquired Yankee who is one of the best young hitters the game has ever seen. At just 21 years old, he was nails in the Washington Nationals' 2019 postseason run, a run in which they knocked off the heavily favored Houston Astros in 7 games in the World Series. There's his teammate, Aaron Judge, who was on pace for another monster season last year before the wall at Dodger Stadium had other plans. He's a threat to win the award again, now that he'll have Juan Soto hitting ahead of him. The Astros even have a plethora of contenders, most namely Jose Altuve, Yordan Alvarez, and Kyle Tucker. There's always dark horse candidates, guys who aren't really being talked about as much. This year, the Twins' Royce Lewis seems to be a popular candidate after a great showing in brief time last season. Ronald Acuna Jr. was a unanimous MVP last season over Mookie Betts. It's fair to argue that Rodriguez has stiffer competition this year than he did, but being the same type of 5-tool player and now having good experience under his belt, I truly believe that Julio Rodriguez will be firmly in the discussion for the American League MVP award in the 2024 season.